So the first article I want to take a look at is entitled West Virginia House Candidate Has Restraining Order for Stalking Women. This is by Hemant Mehta on the Friendly Atheist website. So let's give it a read and see what it says. Earlier this year, a conservative activist named Derek Evans ran in the GOP primary for a seat in West Virginia's House of Delegates. This is really disappointing to me because, of course, I'm from West Virginia, or I live in West Virginia anyways. And every time I see an article about West Virginia, I have to give it a read. And every time I'm disappointed, every single time. Let's continue reading. Perhaps to show off his right-wing bona fides before the election, he posted a rant on Facebook about the book It's Perfectly Normal. He also complained that the book wasn't anti-gay enough. Oh, big surprise. Did anybody really need to hear that he was a GOP candidate? Did anyone think he might have been a Democrat rather than a Republican? Seriously? Why is it that every time there's a batshit crazy story about a batshit crazy representative like this, it's always a Republican? I don't get it, man. Seriously, why? It's like the most anti-gay preachers tend to get caught with like male prostitutes, like Ted Haggard, for example. Why? I don't understand. Anyway, let's continue reading. Evans ended up advancing in that primary, and he's one of 4 candidates on the ballot next week. 2 will earn seats in the State House. Boosting his candidacy, he recently received an endorsement from West Virginia Troopers Association. But in the most predictable political scandal imaginable, it seems that Evans has a restraining order against him because he was caught harassing women. But local law enforcement officials were unaware of that when they supported his candidacy. I don't know, man. He's still a complete nutbag. Like, the legal issues aside, the guy seems like an obnoxious fucking idiot. So it's an embarrassment that West Virginia Troopers Association would endorse somebody like this anyways. But let's continue reading. This is a quote. Evans was found by a Kanawha County magistrate last year to have engaged in stalking and made repeated credible threats of bodily injury to a woman who worked at the Women's Health Center in Charleston, West Virginia. It's the state's only facility to offer abortion services. 9 days after he was served, Evans violated that restraining order, leading to an extension that does not expire until December 31st, 2020. Court documents provided by one victim's attorney show County Magistrate Joseph L. Shelton granted the order, saying Evans made credible threats and engaged in stalking, as defined by the West Virginia State Code. Evans was ordered by the courts to stay away from the victim, including her place of work, but 9 days after being served, Evans showed back up at the Women's Health Center. Big fucking surprise. Is anybody surprised by this behavior? He's an extremist, in case nobody was catching on to that. Guy is an extremist. When Charleston police officers responded to a call that Evans was violating a restraining order by being at the center, he gave them false information about the court order. It seems strange to me that he could get away with giving them false information in the first place, because the woman that filed the restraining order in the first place was the one who called the police. They should have been perfectly aware of what was happening. They should have looked this shit up before arresting this guy or going and talking to him or picking him up or whatever else. They should have looked it up or had one of their friends look it up on their way to the health center. He shouldn't have been able to get away with giving out false information on the restraining order. Let's continue reading. This is Hemant Mehta. The guy's an all-around creep. It's possible he'll win an election despite being under a restraining order because he couldn't stop stalking women. Welcome to the modern Republican Party. The West Virginia Troopers Association says they'll discuss the endorsement at their next meeting, whenever that is, and consider rescinding it. But it may be too late by then. The point is still clear, though. Evans is a monster, and the West Virginia Troopers Association has shitty judgment. No surprise on either count. It's West Virginia, man. This place is Trump country. That's what it is. This place is Trump country, and all that entails. They are obsessed with right-wing extremism in this state. I wish that there was some way to move them over on this issue and try to make West Virginia more of a progressive stronghold, but I am not holding my breath. In 2016, West Virginia voted solidly red. Every district in West Virginia voted Trump. Every single district. It's so red in West Virginia that they almost don't even bother doing polls here. I think they did 1 or 2 this year. And it was like 70% in Trump's favor. Big surprise.